The research teams in the Kiana system require your assistance. They have been running thousands of temporal incursion simulations of how to use the Krenim weapon. But I need an officer with field experience to evaluate the project and its feasibility. You will participate in a focus test of the most promising options. A blade cuts both ways. We must be sure that what this weapon can do to the Iconians does not cause greater harm to us.
Welcome! We have been working with the Krenim to build both this facility and a weapon similar to the one developed by Anoraks in the 22nd century. Captain Nog is running point for the Alliance, but teams from all across the Alpha and Beta quadrants are involved with the research. It's fascinating work, but there's a lot to do yet. Captain Nog might be able to explain more. He's waiting for you.
I wish I was seeing you under better circumstances. We've managed to make a prototype of the Krenim weapon in Anorax's records, but we have not attempted to use it yet. Time isn't something you mess around with, so we have been conducting simulations here of possible incursions, as well as developing new ways to protect and store data on various timelines. When we talk about time alteration, we're specifically referring to the Krenim weapon's ability to remove something from time. Anything, from a single molecule to an entire civilization. It's as if the target of the weapon never existed at all. Correct. The changes ripple out from the incursion point and result in a new reality where the target no longer exists. This does mean that the ship must be able to fire on a target. The details are a bit more complex, of course, but that's the main difference from conventional time travel. Temporal agents from all three factions are watching everything we do carefully. That's one of the reasons we're running holodeck simulations first. Between you and me, I'm glad they're here. The Krenim are a little too eager to use the weapon. Time manipulation is a very delicate operation under the best of circumstances. We can't just start shooting things out of existence and hoping it all works out for the best. I wish I was seeing you under better circumstances. That was the first simulation we tried. The results were fairly catastrophic. Without the Iconians, the first development of warp technology by other cultures in the Alpha Quadrant is severely delayed, by about 50,000 years. Removing the Iconians would change everything we know. Let me put it this way. In one version, the Day Ones eventually rise to power and conquer most of the Beta Quadrant. They are forced back by the Vulcans, who never embrace logic, and later enslave much of what is now Federation and Klingon space. I'm not done yet. The Herc never developed warp technology at all, so they never invade Kronos and unite the Klingons as a warrior culture. When the Vulcan Star Empire finds the Klingons in the 22nd century, they were mostly farmers who had made some advances in epic poetry. By the present day in this simulation, the Vulcan Star Empire is locked in a to-the-death struggle with the Dominion. I wish I was seeing you under better circumstances. We've managed to make a prototype of the Krenim weapon in Anorax's records, but we have not attempted— that the Iconians can't time travel because it unravels their minds. She was being dramatic, but she was essentially correct. When most humanoids time travel, they retain the memories of their timeline of origin. So you realize when things have changed. Iconians are at least partially energy beings. You saw that when Matara was able to use her own power to open gateways. And their brain structure is very different from other humanoids. As far as we understand, if an Iconian traveled back in time, their mind and memories would reshape to fit that time, so they would retain no memories of the present. They don't use time travel because it would literally be taking a step backwards. I wish I was seeing you under better circumstances. We've managed to make a prototype of the Krenim weapon in Anorax's records, but we have not. Once we make an incursion, anything not protected by a temporal shield will conform to the new timeline. That includes all of us once this mission is over. We won't remember the Iconians, the war, or anything that changes in the new timeline. Clouda has been leading the work to create a shielded computer core to hold all the data we currently have. A time capsule, I guess you'd call it. Correct. This isn't the sort of sacrifice we'd expect any personnel involved in the incursion to make. So we've built a computer to retain the information for us. We'll know what happened before, even though it essentially will have happened to someone else. I wish I was seeing you under better circumstances. We've tried a different number of scenarios, but only in the holodeck. Direct action against the Iconians is proving to be problematic, because so much time has passed since they were first a great power. Incursions that far back in time must be carefully planned, or the fallout of even minor changes can ripple across reality. We have, however, seen some promise in trying to delay their arrival. Actually, it would be closer to a 700-year delay if our calculations are correct. The Iconians have had 200,000 years to build their fleets, but we're catching up to them. We've already seen what the 29th century technology can do. Imagine what we'll have in the 32nd century. Exactly. The other potential solution is to cut into the current power base. What if the Iconians never allied with the Alachi or the Solanae? We wouldn't be facing the trouble we do now. The three most promising incursions each follow one of these tactics. My teams have been running simulations and refining their targets, but I'd like you to assist them using a special quantum recursive algorithm. Our simulators can run the outcome of a possible incursion on the holodeck. Interacting with that simulation will give us more data than just crunching the numbers. We need to really interact with it to see what reality would look like, and for that, I need someone like you with field experience.
Hello. Please allow me to explain what we're doing here. We've determined that if we remove a specific series of stars from the Beta Quadrant in the distant past, a rogue planet will enter the Iconia system and cause massive geological damage at about the same time the planet was bombarded by the Iconians' enemies. The technological buildup of the orbital bombardment that destroyed the Iconian civilization will still happen, but the Iconians themselves will have to deal with a natural disaster, not a war. Maybe the survivors of a natural disaster, if there are any, won't be so vengeful, and none of the stars we will remove have planets with the possibility of developing life. The overall effect on the galaxy is minimal. It's a painful path, but it could be the one that leads to peace. The number of stars we will have to remove is a concern, which is why we're trying this in a simulation first. But as Captain Nog said, these simulations aren't perfect. So we have devised a holodeck program that will expand and extrapolate on possible effects of the temporal incursion. It's the best option we have available to us. The holodeck's algorithms have been updated to change and adapt to the data created by the simulated timeline alteration. This is not your average holo novel. Once we run the program, you'll be able to interact with our best approximation of the new timeline. Interaction with the holodeck components will allow the program to generate a more in-depth solution and give us a better idea of what to expect. We have set this simulation on a Federation starship patrolling the Sol system, and you are the captain. If all goes as planned, we expect that almost everything in the system should be close to current reality.
Captain, you're alive! We repelled the intruders on the bridge, but the ship has taken heavy damage, and a lot of the crew are injured. Sir, I'm not sure this is the time. So many people are hurt, and most of the systems are offline. The life support is on backups, and our resources are down to nothing, and... The Dominion stopped firing at us when we lost weapons. Now they're focusing on Earth's defense grid, but it's only a matter of time before they return to finish us off.
Sir, I tried to fight them off, but the boarding parties, the Jem'Hadar, We have to stop the Dominion. They can't take Earth too.
We can't stop them. Maybe if we hadn't been at war with the Romulans. Maybe if the Klingons hadn't ripped themselves apart. I'll be fine, Captain. Just rattled. I never expected they would get so far into our defenses. I'm sorry, Captain. I just need a moment. Then I'll be ready to fight.
Incoming hail!
USS Ajax. Sensors show your ship is completely defenseless, and I would prefer not to delay our arrival at Earth to deal with such a minor annoyance. Surrender now, and I will guarantee the safety of your crew.
Sorry, we were watching from the control room, and that could have gone better. Even with all that, the simulation data on whether the Iconians were entirely eliminated from that timeline is inconclusive. We were able to record your interactions, and we've been able to piece together what happened from those. From what we can piece together, the Klingon Empire was never unified by its conflicts against outsiders, and the great houses turned on one another instead. The Romulans took the chaos as an opportunity to attack. The Federation stepped in to help the Klingons, and the war between the three factions basically ripped the quadrant apart. The Dominion then conquered all three weakened powers. Agreed. My team will continue working on other possible incursion scenarios.
Another one of you Voyagers? I don't know how you can help, but very well. My team is working on scenarios that reduce the Iconian power base. We're attempting to do so by fixing a mistake that Janeway allowed to happen decades ago. We're going to stop the Vaadwaur from being rediscovered. We plan to do this by preventing Voyager from ever coming into contact with underspace. This will prevent them from finding Vaadwaur Prime, and 7 of 9 will never wake the Vaadwaur. None of us are going to survive if we don't try to repair the damage you've already done. The goal is to cause a solar flare that will force Voyager to divert from the course it was on when it stumbled into underspace. If it safely passes without entering underspace, it can continue on its trip home and bypass the Vaadwaur entirely. The simulation is set for the USS Voyager, which is fitting since they caused the problem in the first place. Our projections show that even if the Vaadwaur never return, your people will still find a reason to stick your noses into our business. So, we're attempting to see how the elimination of the Vaadwaur will change the formation of the Delta Alliance. You will be a member of the diplomatic team.
Don't mind Noi. I think he partially blames people from your quadrant for some of the Krennin's troubles. After all, if Voyager hadn't restored the Vaadwaur, they would have never been in a position to ally with the Iconians. But there is no reason to dwell on past hurts. We're trying to fix what we can here, and then learn to accept the rest. Noi funnels that passion to help his people into his work. Perhaps it will change everything. It is a pleasure to meet you. Both Captain Nog and Seven speak highly of you. My name is Claudia, and I am a Tutarian. We're from a region of the Delta Quadrant Voyager never visited, so we haven't had much contact with species from the Alpha and Beta Quadrants until now. However, my world has had close ties with the Krenim for several years. Now that they are actively pursuing temporal technology, I chose to join them and lend whatever assistance I can. I miss my home, but I've made a new one here. Meeting Noi has opened me up to a world beyond my own. It is a pleasure to meet you. I was on Kiana Prime with Noi when we received word of the Vaadwaur attacks. We had only hours to get the temporal equipment running and remove the population from the time stream. Since then, the focus of my work has been developing more stable data storage. We can see into other timelines, but we need a way to secure the data through temporal shifts so we can preserve information about incursions and their effects. In the case of a catastrophic shift, that data could be used as a map to restore the timeline. It is a pleasure to meet you. Both Captain Nog... Don't mind Noi. I think he partially blames people from your quadrant for some of the It is a pleasure to meet you.